And hello YouTube as well. Am I on the right window? I am on the right window. That's good. So apologies for some videos having like flashing starting screens on them every so often. They're not doing that on my end. I checked a bunch of my local recordings today. They're not all doing it on YouTube. Some of them are doing it. I can see no rhyme or reason because it's not just Isaac or anything like that. Our damage is terrible. 7 FSX, 28 FN. The FN does not start for Fortnite. Tier rate is pretty good. Tier damage is bad. Luck is bad. Speed is bad-ish. And range is good. Not an ideal mix. So as far as like starting with Book of Sin, that's okay. And the metal plate is occasional stun, I think. But you immediately want me to jump into what I was cooking. Give it like a minute or so. I started pretty abruptly, so we're still waiting on people filtering in. Usually I yammer for a few more minutes than this. Hello, Luke. And everyone else. Boom. Boom for nothing. I have never played Rust, no. I've heard of it, but I've never played it. Is that the one with one of the ones where you can be naked as well? There's like two that always go on about how you can be naked. I think it's Rust in the Conan game. Or the Conan MMO. Whatever. You're happy the times are realigned? Me too. Sora was getting in the bad habit of trying to wake me up at 6:30 in the morning, but I kind of started letting her do it because I knew when the clocks changed I'd be like, oh, that would just become my normal getting out of bed time, so that's perfect. Little does she know I used her to get my sleep schedule prepared for the shift on March 31st for us. Also, I got a wonderful picture of Sora blepping today. But she wasn't blepping, she was more like mid-lick. Because I used the camera to take a picture of some models I was painting and she was trying to lick me and or the camera. And I got it at just the right moment where it looks like she's doing a huge just blep. Because usually she just uses like the little tip of her tongue, but she spread it out somehow. So it looks huge. It's adorable and silly. It's been a while since we've seen this room. This used to be a super common room when there was so many less room permutations. Oh, I totally forgot to remind everyone else, if you have Twitch Prime, you can be getting Nintendo's online service for free, and there's a bunch of new free games you can get in April as well. This is not an April Fool's. I didn't stream on April Fool's Day because thankfully it fell on a Monday, and you should all be grateful for that, because the pseudo plan I had would not have been fun. Ooh, Toxic Shock is good. Thank you for the raid, Police Cake. If you weren't here on Sunday when I realised that April Fool's Day was Monday, my plan was going to be that I was going to buy face rig and then use it to look like an anime girl or an animal and never mention it, and just have like the stereotypical Twitch webcam except using face rig so it wouldn't be me. No, not animal girl. Well, okay, I see what you did there, never mind. But thankfully, we don't need to see any of that because April Fool's Day was on the Monday. Also, Face Rig had not been on offer since I added it to my wish list to look for being on offer, purely so I could spend a wasteful amount of money for the purposes of a practical joke. Well, not even a practical joke, just a joke. It turns out that program is like pretty price gougey, because I was reading into it when I came up with the idea earlier this year. And the reviews are not all complimentary because of how much like microtransaction DLC type stuff they put out. It is a service attempt, I think. In a few days you'll gain an extra hour. Oh, I was looking at chat. Why are you not dead? Oh, right, yeah, we have below starting damage. That's why you're not dead yet. Oh. Baba is pissed and has knife. Thank you. Yeah, good a speed up. Ooh, I'm tempted to just restart to try for something better, but we'll see what we got on the second floor. April Fool's Day has taught you to trust no one. There's good advice in general, if slightly demoralizing. Oh, hello, Sora. Alright, I guess we can get into proper conversation, like, for instance, what I cooked on my day off. I did another adventure in making fudge, and it was kind of a failure this week. I wanted to do hazelnut fudge, so my grand plan for that was make it as normal until the point where you would add flavouring and a little bit of topping up of the chocolate. I added in a bunch of Nutella for flavour, and some blanched hazelnuts. For whatever reason, I don't really know, it just, I don't know, the Nutella just did not flavour the chocolate. So, I mean, the finished product just kind of, it tastes like chocolate with hazelnuts in it, but that's not what I was hoping for. Please, small rock. Bah. Ooh, cancer trinket. It's like we're, what is that? Oh, it's a bone heart. It's like we're playing 4 Souls. Thank you, Reishi93, for an 8-month streak and 18 months in total with Twitch Prime. It'd be hilarious if a celebrity actually died on April Fool's. No one would figure it out for about a month. True. Also, we need a second Twitch baby name. Not going by your streak, but your total. And our second Twitch baby name will be Jeremiah Puddle Duck. Hyphenated, obviously. So yeah, my fudge attempts this week were a little bit of a fail. But I also did some actual human baking. I was thinking about other things that I might like to attempt. My gran used to bake scones. My mother, when I lived at home, baked scones every now and then. So I decided to look into how that was, and the BBC website, or the BBC Food website, has a pretty straightforward recipe for it. So I was like, that sounds like something I can do. No, I didn't bake a human. Allegedly. So I attempted scones, and if I do say so myself, I think for a first try they came out pretty damn good. It was not without some mistakes. Like, for instance, when I was at the supermarket on Monday getting the ingredients needed to bake scones. By the way, scones, if you've never made them, super easy to, like, basically do. 10 minutes to prepare, 10 minutes to bake, they're done. That's it. Not a time-consuming thing to bake at all. 2 clubs, we'll just use for bombs. Your father did the greatest prank for April Fools. He got you sick and then left for France. It's just Nurgle's gift. Embrace it. Or perish. Where was I? Oh yeah, the trials and tribulations of scone making. Buying the ingredients, no problem. Needed to buy some stuff that I never had, like a cooking brush is what I called it. It's for rubbing like beaten egg on top of the scones before they baked. Have I had the item room on this floor? Yeah, it was infamy. Thank you, Yoshi of the Wire, for the bits. April Fool's Day is bad, I agree.
Oh.
At least we got an easy boss. So I needed one of those brushes to wipe egg yolk over the scones before they got stuck in the oven. I needed a, I don't know what it's properly called, I needed a dough cutter, you know, something to actually like cut out the circular shapes to become scones. Figured I'd be able to get one of those in the supermarket. The supermarket doesn't bloody sell them. So I was like, okay, well, how am I going to do this then? So I improvised and I bought a ramekin. I was like, that's circular and kind of like rimmed a little bit. That might do. And I used that. As a result, the scones were a bit overly large. I could only make 4 of them with the amount of dough I had. Although that's how many I could fit in my small oven, so as it turns out that's not so bad. Yeah, pastry brush. That's probably what it's called officially. So, ramekin scones, it's a thing, it worked. I'll probably still try and find a proper, like, ridged or rimmed or however you call them cutter, because I want to make them again in the future as well. Thank you for the British money, Lojack. But where's the lamb sauce? You don't put lamb sauce in scones. I am curious if I can mix in some cinnamon to make cinnamon scones. I kinda wanna attempt that. Void or Cambion Conception? We're probably gonna get hit a lot because our damage is shit, so maybe Cambion Conception will give us something worthwhile. I will take the Void then, because we can just suck up Book of Sin anyway. You wouldn't suggest it? Give me the various reasons why. Help me understand. Does it do something to the bake? Hello, Smashing Panda. Oh, now we're fast, but we're still weak. Skondo's pretty flexible, you should be able to spice it differently. Well, that sounds like you're in favour. Oh, Blizzcake, hello, Serenity. Oh wait, you're the one who just said spice it, yes. You are in favour. Yeah, but Don Tombre is like an actual chef. I don't just mean he eats people. If you can give me a good reason, I will listen to it. His name is not Ton Donbury, although that would be a good chef name. If he worked for the mob, I guess. There's not even any point in me sucking that up, but I guess I still will. It won't affect the baking, but if you overdo it, it could cause it to burn or staunch the flavour. Would it be better to sprinkle the cinnamon on top after it's done then? Because it would be scones that you wouldn't have with jam and cream. Butter, if anything. I'm just experimenting with flavours to see what happens. Because I've made normal scones once and they turned out pretty good, so I'm like, okay, yep, conquered that, need something else now. A light dusting won't hurt. Why do I feel like you've said that to someone in a different context before? You add cinnamon to all the baked goods you can? So what I'm getting is a solid maybe. I'll consider it. Maybe just like a tiny amount in the bake. Just tiny small amount, see what happens. If it's not tasteable when it's done, whatever. It's there, but I tried and then I would know. Oop, this way. Suck. Thank you, FlikFan1, for a 13-month streak with a tier 2 sub. Swiggity Swooty, I'm here for the booty. He said the thing, so I had to say the thing. Apple cinnamon scones wouldn't be bad. I think the most adventurous I've ever had a scone made by someone else would be just like sultanas and raisins or something. Nothing too out there. I know I'm not to the same level and I haven't seen like every episode of House, but I specifically remember an episode of The House where he's not able to doctor anymore, so he takes to cooking and he overanalyzes and experiments and goes a bit nuts with cooking. I feel a little bit the same because once I've made something normally, I'm like, well, okay, that was easy. How do I do it so it's challenging now? Because I was expecting the scones to be more daunting or to turn out crappier than they did. Yeah, then he says he has food lupus, yes. That's a classic meme. Finally chop some apples, dust them in cinnamon lightly, add them to this condo. See, the problem is I don't much care for cooked apple. Although, wait, no, you're meaning raw apple? That doesn't sound appealing. Ooh. So anyway, that was my adventure in cooking for the week. I keep on saying that I'm not making my cooking adventures every week a thing, but then I keep on reaching like Usually Saturday evening or Sunday morning I'm like, oh, alright, well my day off I'll be doing my shopping. Should I look through cookery stuff online and get ideas for something to bake? And I always end up finding something or remembering something that appeals. My mother used to bake like, cornflake biscuits. I might try and find the recipe for those off of her and try them. Actually, that's an idea for next Monday. That's a long time ago since she made them, though. Hello, Robin. Can we get a cooking vlog? Absolutely not. That would imply I'm more proficient at it than I am. I'm just following recipes that I find online. It's not that complicated. I'm just honestly doing that to speed up the fight a little bit because this is going to take forever. That shows the secret room? It does. Okay, we can get to the curse room as well then. It's nice in a way that cooking is not nearly as daunting as it would appear to someone who doesn't know how to cook. Basically, as long as you can read, then you're fine. Somebody pulls at their collar realizing that they're illiterate. What else did my mother used to do? Well, she makes cherry cake every so often, but that seems a little bit too beyond the necessities. Also, that's kind of her special thing. I've had it a couple of times since moving in here. She makes it for my grandfather a lot, and sometimes she'll just bung two in and then drop one off to me when she's dropping one off to my granddad. Okay. Well, we'll take this. We'll hope. Oh, it doesn't take the skull heart, huh? Hopefully, eventually, we can get rid of that skull heart then. It's awkward because if I get hit 3 times on purpose, we could get rid of it. Shortbread. It is a pretty Scottish thing. That's a tempting idea as well. I don't know if I'm trying to remember if my mother ever tried baking shortbread. I don't remember her offhand ever trying it. Oh, I came in from the left. My bad. Your mother tends to give you food poisoning. Honestly, I'm surprised I haven't done that. Well, I did technically. No, it wasn't food poisoning. It was too much spicy, super hot chili put into stew. So you know what? I am going to the shop on this floor. That's not worth much at all. I can see forever. When my mother was eating, like I saved one of the scones for her, and she came to try it. She did find one of Sora's hairs in it. I am amazed at how her hair gets everywhere. She's shedding her winter coat, which is normal. What isn't normal is that it seems to fall upwards. It's baffling, and I keep on hoovering and she keeps on shedding it more. Not sure how long it usually takes for a dog to shed its winter coat, but it seems to be taking forever. Like, there's going to be a Batman Battle Report up in a few days. The table is covered in just her stray hairs. Speaking of that, that's up in 4 days from now. I edited and uploaded it today. It'll be up 4 days from now as soon as the stream ends. Don't know if someone knows how to do maths, they'll be able to work out when I filmed this video. Oh good, the same item we already have. Goody. Let's retrovision because it's the best effect. I just need to vacuum her directly. And Chris B's dog's been doing it for 4 years. Excellent. So in terms of other stuff to talk about, chat, I have been watching more Arrow. I don't want to turn every week of Isaac into talking about Arrow, but they never stop. I think I was into just the start of season 4 when we last talked about it. It may not have been during Isaac. I think maybe we talked a bit about it during something else. The season 4 was okay, way too much melodrama, but okay. I kind of like Damien Dark as a villain. I'm gonna go suck up that other head, so now I should be able to fire 2 of them when I use it. Nope. Okay. Don't vacuum your doggos. So I think I'm into chapter. Yeah, there's chapter 5, series 5. I think I'm at episode 10 of like 20, 22, 23 ish. So not quite halfway. I have some major complaints about series 5 that aren't even really connected to the main plot of the series, honestly. What I will say as far as complementary stuff goes, the action is a hell of a lot better in season 5. They do a lot more wire work. It looks much more unrealistic when he like fires an explosive arrow at just some guy and they get thrown across the room, but it looks awesome. So I'm glad they took away just enough of the realism to make the fighting look a bit more interesting when it's just a guy who shoots arrows constantly. But in terms of complaints, 2 big ones. 1, crossovers. I'm okay when it's just The Flash, because eventually I'm going to watch The Flash. Although for them to have like a previously on Arrow and Flash at the start of one episode, and then suddenly it just says, oh, by the way, The Flash changed time, so now John Diggle has a son instead of a daughter. Just because? It's like, why? You're doing this to force people to watch The Flash, actually. I answered my own question. Hello, Shiro. Again, not so bad, because eventually I'm going to watch The Flash anyway. But then they had their 100th episode special, and it was part 2 of like a big crossover between all the DC things. So it's not just Team Arrow, it's not just Team Flash. There's Supergirl and then a bunch of nobodies. And they're fighting... Sora, what? You heard something that bugged you? Oi. Sora? You protecting me, are you? Yeah? She heard something she didn't like. Yes, hello, I see you. Anyway, as I was saying. So they have this big crossover with Supergirl, Flash, DC Heroes of Tomorrow, or whatever the hell it's called. Didn't have a clue who any of the characters were. They're fighting aliens, which is stupid. And they're clearly just doing an episode connected to it per show to force you to watch every show. And the Arrow one is like right in the middle. So I had no idea what was going on. I skipped through 90% of it and I was like, that's what you're doing for your 100th episode? An incoherent episode? That was pretty bad. There we go, that's what I wanted. We finally have damage. She isn't barking at my vacuum. Although she does, she runs away from it if I have it on. So that really sucked, like their big 100th episode, and they wasted doing a shitty crossover. So skip that episode, and then at the start of the next episode they're like, hey, we survived fighting aliens. I was like, okay, good. In other words, nothing changed. Also, the start of season 5 is very, very bad. Just wanting to create a new team and then just finding a bunch of freaks. Like an asshole, a Binding of Isaac boss, and a nobody. Like Token Girl. And he just finds them instantly. So yeah, okay, whatever. And they're all very young, so if they have any lasting appeal, they can stick around for a while. Hang on a second. I want to take the Algis rune. But we'll go back to the secret room real quick. She heard us talking about vacuums. That would be fair enough. So yeah, the season starts very weakly from a story perspective. but in terms of action, the action's better, so if nothing else, it's fun to look at, but I'm losing complete interest in the plot.
It's only a game. Why do you have to be mad?
Thank you, My Side of Reality, for also giving generous bits. Bountiful harvesting this month. All my bits are belong to you. Thank you. I'm glad you're sticking with it. I don't mind them, again, embellishing his backstory to go into like the Russian stuff, because obviously that's going to have some payoff and it's much more interesting than the Chinese triad stuff. Like I just got to, I think they're introducing Talia al Ghul, who's probably going to turn out to be Prometheus, but don't tell me if I'm right or wrong. Baba is you is bits. No, it would be Baba is you and has bits. And I must admit, I rolled my eyes a little bit when Prometheus got revealed as being the villain for the season, and it's yet another person who uses a bow. It's like, does it really have to be a bow user every single freaking time? Just because Green Arrow uses a bow doesn't mean his villains have to. I don't know, the mystery of like who Prometheus is an interesting enough hook. I don't care about the new Team Arrow at all. I don't like that John Diggle feels like a totally different character for no reason, because he's written so poorly in this season as well, as far as nitpicky things go. I don't remember what this D dice does, so we're just going to ignore it and not suck it up. One day one of them is going to have a crossbow and he's able to defeat the arrow with spear of firepower. Zeppo, it already happened. He creates the Huntress, which is well, it's a Batman and Green Arrow character. And he teaches her to use a crossbow because she can't aim an arrow for shit, and I'm pretty sure he catches one of her crossbow bolts. Eventually though, he just, like, anytime he fights someone with a bow, he just deflects the arrows with his bow. Please, yeah. Thank you, Yoshi, for the bits. Here's some protection money from Green Dragon thing and Tiger Bear, the official beer of the Overwatch League. Yes, that was the sort of Jesus. How embarrassing. No, I don't want that though, because then we don't have her Babylon damage, and that's the only damage we have, so I have to ignore that, unfortunately. Which sucks. On the subject of Arrow as well, of the models I painted, well, I started on my day off and finished them earlier today. I painted the Green Arrow model and I painted the John Diggle model. Also, the Green Arrow bow is just so flimsy resin, it's snapped. So I had to glue that back together. Just an unfortunate side effect of the Night model's resin. It's just, they have so many thin bits, they can break on their own, they can break in a slight breeze. But anyway, I'll get through this season of Arrow, then I have one more season left, and then I will watch The Flash. I like... Son of a bitch. I like the person playing The Flash the more I see of him in Arrow, but Arrow also has a more adult tone. I feel like if I see him in goofy, like, supervillain of the week scenarios, I'll like him less, but we'll see. Oh yeah, I was wondering like what the hell happened to Roy Palmer as well, and it's like, oh, he's in that DC Heroes of Tomorrow, I guess, because he turns up for the collaboration. Like, they made the mistake of assuming that anyone would want to watch every one of their shows. Oh, for once a bad hitbox worked in my favour. I will risk it just for damage. Okay, 1 damage. Oh, I shouldn't have taken that, though, because now we're going to lose more than 1 damage. No, I would have loved to absorb it, but I can't. It's a bad run. Yeah, all I know from, like, comics and cartoons, like from the Justice League cartoon when I was a kid, is that Oliver Queen is generally a very silly character, but he's essentially playing Batman in Arrow. He's much more serious. But I kind of don't mind that. I kind of like that. It's the same kind of atmosphere that Daredevil has, where everything is taken very serious and very grim and horrible. Oh, I also rolled my eyes at the episode with the evil twin. Without going into, I guess, spoiler details. But the literal evil twin from Earth 2, I was like, Jesus Christ. I know you're from comics, but do you have to, though? I was enjoying, like, just touching the rim of comic book shit. Just a little bit, just keep it real, but have the vigilante stuff. Don't go nuts with it, and then they've just gone nuts with it. They've ran out of good stories already. If you're dropping frames, it's on your end. I have dropped no frames. Give me HP. I might as well, because I've lost her Babylon anyway. Thank you. Our fire rate is fantastic. Although I guess that's the cancer doing it. The game seemed to lag for a few seconds. Oh well, there was a little bit of like, yeah, in-game lag during the fight against the bloat, I think it was. But that was like a split second. If you notice that, it's on your end. Oh, that's more fire rate. Or to go back to the rim thing I said, you're being very anal. Oh, one last nitpick. I despise every intro to the Arrow show. Because they overcomplicate things, they over-explain. They always have to fit in the same 2 lines, and I despise those lines. Ooh, wow. It's Twitch? If it's still happening, it's definitely Twitch. Although, if it was Twitch, usually Twitch tells me I'm dropping frames. Is anybody else experiencing similar issues? Actually, why am I doing that? I can just suck it up. Because only 2 of you seem to be having the issue. Actually, it's just... Yet? Okay. Are you all using the Xbox app? There's no door there. Are you all using the Xbox app? Because it could be that. But as I was saying, yeah, all the intros suck, and it's not even just the repetition of the I must become something else, I must become someone else BS, because some of the reoccurring lines I like. I like that they still find ways to put in so and so you have failed this city, because I think that's a very powerful line. But the intros are just terrible. Like my favourite moment from season 1 is when Oliver goes to his mother and says, well, whatever her name is, Queen, you have failed this city. I came to the exact same place. You had it on mobile? Mobile and Xbox are about on par in terms of shitness, so yeah, maybe it was that. No offense, Chris B. And Don Tombury. The only 2 people I know who own Xboxes in 2019. Look, it's okay. Everybody makes bad decisions. Wait for the Flash intros? Oh no. Oh, the plus side of watching them all on DVD is I can fast forward anything that gets annoying. Like anything involving the new Team Arrow, it's just skip. Oh, there was one really weird episode last in season 3. One where, like, Felicity's pissed off at something, I've forgotten what, because, you know, that's just part of her character. And she acts like a 5-year-old to Oliver when they're, like, dealing with an end-of-world scenario because, like, they've fallen out of love. And every, like, stuck-up crybaby line she has just, it sounds like someone else wrote her. For that one episode. It was so bizarre. Like, just totally out of character as well. I would like that key. Thank you. So anyway, that's all I wasted my time watching, really. I haven't watched any new stuff on Netflix that I haven't already talked about at some point. What I do on a day off, I pretty much covered it, painted some stuff, baked some scones. Got that Batman battle report edited. No, don't need that. I came this way. Watch ghost stories? I don't know if that's a thing on EU Netflix. That's a problem, like, there's stuff that's on US Netflix, it's not on Canadian Netflix, it's not on Europe, it's not on Australian. It's whatever they can get the license for in whatever regions. Like Red Letter Media recommended a movie that's on Netflix, and I'm pretty sure it's not on the British one, annoyingly. How were the scones? I think they were good, but I'm probably biased. My mother liked them as well. She might be a little bit biased. Actually, no, she probably is less likely, because she'd want to believe that hers are better than mine. They had a little bit of a soggy bottom, but my mother gave me a tip to solve that next time once I take them out the oven. Put them in a tea towel, kind of, and then pull the tea towel over them as well to give them a kind of like a little hot box, and apparently they steam, and that finishes them off a little bit better. So I'd get rid of the one thing I felt was wrong with them. Yeah. My own fault for making that teleport on the floor that I'm now having to avoid. I forgot that I sucked up the shovel. This be Krampus. Oh, wow. I am surprised. Can you take half my heart? Hey, okay, good. 2 vaginal entrances. Is there another season of Extreme Animal Obsessions? They don't even have the full season on Netflix. There's just 2 episodes. That was fun, though. See, what else is there to talk about for the remaining floors? Oh, I unburied a weird repressed memory from my school days while out walking Sora this morning. Well, not repressed, probably isn't. Shit, I just picked up a heart instinctively. Just, I forgot that it was a thing. So I think I mentioned before I got very disillusioned with, well, the Scottish version of high school, which is called secondary school. Basically, you have to stay on until you're 16. You can stay on for 17 and 18 if you choose to do hires, is what they're called, after standard grades. I left at 16, although I did eventually go back to education when I discovered that in college they treat you like an adult, and was like, where has this been all my life? College is wonderful, but secondary school is terrible. That's not the point though. I think I mentioned a few reasons before why I got fed up with the educational system. I think the one I remember telling, this was probably years ago I last told it, but the TLDR, I was off ill once and missed my French exams. Then I had to sit them in less than good conditions once I went back after being ill, and it dropped my average grade in French enough that I was put with the remedial student. Well, I don't know if remedial is the right word. The students who got the lowest possible tier grades. And I saw how the teachers treated those kids and was sickened. They were condescending because they could get away with it because they were either too dumb or just didn't care that they were being spoken to in such a rude manner. It drove me mad. That was when I saw that teachers weren't infallible and they were just as flawed as the rest of us. And yet they treat us like we're below them. That's the main thing that really got me annoyed with education. But I remembered just today, while walking the dog, that there was another situation that happened once, and I totally forgot this happened. And it's gonna need a little bit of a backstory because of how weird Scottish schools are. But when you are 16, and whether you've made your decision of whether to leave school or stay on or not, they start prepping you to become, what did they call it? A prefect. And a prefect, at least in my school's terms, it was something you did when you were 17 and 18. You look after the other students in the younger years, usually during like lunch break or like the morning break, just watching for trouble in the playground, watching the lines at lunch, that kind of stuff. So they start grooming you to be a prefect before you've made the decision of whether to stay on or not. And part of this was, I remember a bunch of us who were, well, we hadn't made up our mind yet, 16 going on 17, were called to the gym where the assistant, or I think it was the assistant head teacher, was doing a little speech about getting a chance to try out duties of a prefect prior to us going into the next year. And a girl there asked, "Is this mandatory?" And the assistant head teacher said, "No, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. Is there anyone who doesn't want to do it?" The girl who asked said, "I don't want to do it." Another girl said, "I don't want to do it." And I said, "I don't want to do it." The reason I said I didn't want to do it is because I didn't want to be a prefect. And I didn't want to be a prefect due to a mixture of not wanting to work during my breaks, social anxiety, and the excuse I would later use when the assistant head teacher asked, which is only partially true because it's the one I least thought of, living rurally rather. Also, we just had this boss fight earlier, what the hell? There were some friends, most of my friends, I only saw at school because I had like 2 within walking distance of me. Please die, thank you. Ooh, that was good. Roll the dice on... It's probably going to be Krampus, so let's roll the dice here. That's fine. So anyway, the reason we had to give an excuse is after people, including myself, me and these 2 girls, they all said, "We don't want to do this." She said, "Okay, everyone else can go, but you 3 stay behind." So everyone else went to their class. We got held up like just after a break, I think, so the next classes had started. And she went into this tirade at all of us, demanding to know why we didn't want to do it. And I don't remember everything that she said, but she said things like we were being shameful, we were like dishonoring the school, we were being lazy, and all these other things, after asking for excuses. And the excuse I thought of on the spot was, I only see most of my friends during my breaks, I don't want to lose my breaks. That is true, but that was not the main reason I chose not to do it. The other 2 girls, they didn't particularly care about the things she was saying to them, so they were just like, yeah, whatever. But it was a imbalanced amount of anger for what was the situation, in my opinion. I can't remember exactly how the conversation went, but it was definitely seemed a little OTT. Maybe the head, or the assistant head, was having a bad idea. Bad day. So, there's a bad idea in chat every so often. That's probably why my brain went there. Shaming people into doing things is always a bright idea. Exactly my thought. So anyway, didn't think too much of it at the time, but it was kind of playing on me. Went to my class. I remember specifically what class it was. It was an English class, and we didn't have our usual teacher. We had and some other teacher was covering because my normal teacher wasn't there for whatever reason. They knew why I was late because they knew about this meeting that went on. I sat down next to whoever it was that I sat down with in that class, And they turned to me and said, what happened? Like, what did the assistant head say to you and those girls that got asked to leave behind? And I more or less verbatim just repeated what was said to us. Like she said, we should be ashamed of ourselves, etc., etc. To the person who was sitting next to me. The substitute teacher overheard me saying this, and she asked me to clarify what I said. And I explained, and then there was nothing said of it until the end of the class. At the end of the class, as I was leaving, she asked me to wait behind so she could talk to me for a second. And she asked me again to go over what happened, and I did. And she said, if this is what she said, there's nothing in that situation that warrants what she said to you. Can I look into this? Because what happened was not right. And I said yes. And then nothing came of it for weeks. And then eventually, I can't remember the official term, but we have, like, I think Americans call it homeroom. It's like the first class you go to before the official classes start is where you get your registration taken for the day. A few weeks later, the assistant head turns up and asks to speak to me. And I remember the conversation with her very well, where I think she probably feared for her job. And she took me outside, and she said, do you remember this conversation that transpired? And I said, yes. And she apologised, but immediately after apologising, she started to make excuses about what happened. And they weren't excuses like, oh, she was having a rough day or anything like that. Maybe she thought a kid wouldn't understand. Her excuse was she was only really saying it to the two girls who did not give a good excuse. And she repeated my reason back to me. Being, oh, you said you wanted to spend more time with your friends. That's fair enough. It doesn't really hold water for me, because if she did mean it just for the girls, why did, well, one, did she make me listen to it? Why did she address me when she was talking to, like, the three of us together? She should have just been honest and said she was having a bad day. Because that's the only thing that comes to me, because we hadn't had, well, maybe the girls had had some interaction with her, but I'd never spoken to the assistant head prior to that meeting with everybody who was going to be a prefect. So she handled it very poorly. And she handled her apology even worse. I do wish I knew what happened, like, in the background, though. Because nothing, like, if my normal English teacher had heard me saying that, even if, like, my normal English teacher liked me, I was a teacher's pet, so all my teachers liked me. I don't think they would have said anything, because it was the assistant head of the school, but it was only because it was a substitute that she was willing to take it further for me. Because I was a little bit shaken by what she said. It's not like some massive thing. Honestly, like, being a prefect, when seeing the prefects, it just came across like students who were made to do things the teachers couldn't be arsed to do. That's not necessarily what it was, but that's how everybody who wasn't one saw it. Like, it's the teacher's job to make sure there's no trouble during breaks and at lunch, but they just get the prefects to do it. They get fancier looking uniforms and everything. I have no idea what triggered my memory of that today. It was just, and I hadn't even thought about it for just as long. It just suddenly came to me. And I imagine that probably also influenced me. I had to speak to the assistant head one more time at school, and that was when you leave early, well, when you leave at 16 and don't stay on, you have to go get a parchment signed by all your teachers for your various classes, the headmaster and the assistant head. Just to say that you've been there, that you spoke to them, etc. And I don't remember there being anything weird about the conversation when I got her to sign that when I was leaving, but I do have to wonder if, like, one, she remembered, and two, she was relieved. But that's just another situation where I don't think she, like, hated me or the other girls, but she was having a bad day, and that again just kind of hit home that, like, teachers have bad days. Teachers are just, they're just people. And I don't know why, but specifically for me, that just made me see them in less of a good light. Because I was like, oh, you're not perfect. Why have I been sucking up to you all this time? Did my schooling suffer after that? Well, no, because I left to find a job, but I guess the final joke is on me because ironically I wanted to escape education so I could be in a situation where I was treated like an adult. My very first job, I worked in a bookstore and I got treated like a slave who just had to make tea for the adult employees. And only one nice lady even gave me a chance and the rest treated me like shit. But if you're, I don't think any of my audience is young enough to be in the situation where they might be disillusioned with high school, secondary school, whatever you call it where you are. It gets better. Education gets better. Don't give up on education just because your teachers might be bad. Get as far as you can, get into college and get treated as an equal. Closer right now. I'm not having a bad day, no. I was recalling a bad story, but I'm having a fine day. Oh, well, that is the other thing, yeah. If you're somewhere in the world where going to college costs a lot of money, that's obviously a problem. Also, college and uni are two different things in this country. Well, Lemon Prince and everyone else who's just felt ringing, you're just in time for swap over, almost. Oh god, 4 cages. The only cage I want to see is Nick. Bleh. Actually, these are not cages, these are Sister Viz, but whatever. It's a cage reskin. Hello, Frog Lawyer. Give up on formal education if you struggle with academics but go to trade school. That is also a good option. Because it was stupid of me to leave without decent qualifications. When I did. Thankfully, I went on to get a good qualification from college. Vroop. But yeah, learning a trade is another good way to circumvent bad educational systems. And still learn something that's super useful. Although, again, most people who watch me are also adults, so this is probably like information or advice that's not going to be particularly useful to anybody. I don't think there's anybody here who's like younger than the age to go to college, but it's something to think about. I hope that's just you farting behind me, Sora, because I smell something untowards. I'm 12 and what is this? This is the end of the run, so for those watching on YouTube I hope you enjoyed. See you next time. Start for now.